Happy LGBTQIA plus Pride Month, everyone. And you may be wondering, what does this have to do with the Dharma? But actually, I think it's a perfect illustration of the Buddhist teachings on emptiness and dependent designation. So what do we mean when we say that things exist due to mere imputation on a basis of designation? What do we mean when we say that things exist only conventionally by being conceived and labeled by the mind? That things lack inherent existence and don't exist from their own side? So these terms, inherent existence, basis of designation, they may seem a little dry and abstract, but actually they play a really big role in our daily lives and who we think ourselves to be. And they've been a huge driver of politics, wars, and human history in general. So today I want to explore how objects are merely designated by the mind by looking at the example of gender. And I think the importance of gender in one's life is hard to overestimate. I think many people, at least in this country, would say it's their most important identity, maybe only after being a human being. And gender influences our access to education, career opportunities, our social status, our economic position, our life experiences, our self-esteem. But when you really stop to think, what is gender, it becomes a little bit vague. So I looked it up on the internet. And I mean, I also studied this a lot in college, so as a sociology major, so I thought it was very fascinating. But I think most would agree gender is a social construct, and this means that it's something that is fabricated by human minds. And one authority, the World Health Organization, says that gender refers to the socially constructed characteristics of men and women, such as norms, roles, and relationships between groups of women and men. It varies from society to society and can be changed. So in contrast, sex refers to a person's physical characteristics at birth, while gender encompasses a person's identities, expressions, and societal roles. A person can identify with a gender that is different from their sex at birth. And this is kind of happening a lot more often today. And so there's many people identifying as transgender or non-binary. And the term non-binary includes people who identify as both a man and a woman, or as neither a man or a woman. So then how do concepts such as inherent existence, emptiness, dependent designation apply to this situation? Well, first of all, on the conventional level, we can see that gender does exist. Enough people have agreed that gender is a useful concept through which to organize and to interpret human interaction. Therefore, men, women, transgendered people, and non-binary people very much do exist, and they function in society. However, these conventions don't exist through their own power or just come about out of nowhere. They come about as a result of lots of interaction and debate between individuals and groups. And those with political power at any given time in history can influence others to adopt what they consider to be a man, what they consider to be a woman. So there's a lot of struggle happening for who gets to define what is a man, what is a woman. This, we kind of don't connect the dots because when we think of a definition, we often think of something that's stable, like, the object, its definition, it doesn't change. You can go look it up in the dictionary. But if you look at the terms man and woman, over the past decades, that's changed quite a lot. And even new terms such as non-binary have come into existence within Western culture. It already did exist in some other non-Western or indigenous cultures, but not so much in this one. And what this demonstrates is that gender lacks any inherent existence of its own. For a long time, gender was designated on the basis of someone's sex or their physical characteristics. But now many people have delinked their gender from their sex. And new genders have been created in the process. Transgender, non-binary. The basis of designation is still the human body. But gender is also designated on animals, on vehicles, on machines, cartoons, electric plugs, stuffed animals. Buddha bear is definitely a female. I think we all decided. And many languages divide the whole world into male or female objects, and some include neuter objects. So maybe that's pointing in the transgender direction. I think German is one of those. So the main thing that gender depends on is the mind that's imputing it. So this can explain why when one person looks at a female body, they would say that's a woman, whereas another person looking at that same body, perhaps the person who owns that body, possesses that body, would say non-binary. And so this shows that gender lacks any ultimate reality independent of the imputing mind.
Is gender, you're just speaking now about man and woman as gender, but giving the examples in terms of the body. Mm-hmm. But actually gender, you said before, wasn't the body.
Well, gender is imputed on the body.
On the body or on the person?
On the basis of designation is the body.
So then everybody who is trans, their gender is the body. Who hasn't had surgery, their body would be, their gender would be according to their body at birth. But they're saying it isn't.
Well, according to the traditional definition, their gender is their sex at birth, but people are now redefining how gender is applied, and it's no longer dependent.
Yeah, so wouldn't you then say that the basis of designation of gender is the person and how the person sees themselves, not the body that the person has? Because you said somebody could have a gender that is different from their body.
Mm-hmm. Well, body in general, not sex organs. So having a head, having arms, having a torso and legs, that a body in a more general sense is what I mean.
Okay, I'll stop there.
Yeah, because person, I'm not quite sure how that would all fit in here, but you do have to be a human being in order to have a human gender. So I think that part is okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic way to really explore these concepts on a deeper level and to bring them to life, because it's like, well, we take it for granted. I'm a woman, I'm a man, but actually in my own experience, when I look at my mind, I have no idea what gender I am. And some days I feel more like a man, some days I feel more like a woman. And so what does that even really mean, So I'd say what gives me that impression is certain qualities that we associate with men. Like if I feel assertive, if I feel confident, then I feel masculine, I feel like a man. And then if I feel, friendly, outgoing, accommodating, I'd say I feel more like a woman.
Isn't that falling into all the old gender stereotypes?
It absolutely is, which is why I am determined to pick this stuff apart.
And that's why I thought the whole discussion about gender was aimed at, is getting rid of these old stereotypes. But here it seems like the people who are trying to get rid of them are also falling into them.
Yeah, that definitely happens because we're grasping at, we're creating things out of thin air and then we're grasping at them. So it's fascinating. Yeah, I found it really fascinating to look at my own mind. And I've concluded that I don't feel like any gender in particulars, but just because I've had a female body most of my life and I've been socialized to act in feminine ways in this culture, then I say, yeah, I'm a woman. Okay, that's fine. And I'm so thankful that I don't have that conflict, with my body, with my, what other people tell me my gender is. I don't disagree with that. But there are many people who increasingly do, and there's the space now to challenge that. And in challenging that, it shows us how all of this stuff is just mental fluff, mental constructs. And it's many people have very visceral emotional reactions when gender and trans and children and bathrooms and sports teams. And in a certain way, it's like, why are they getting so upset about this? Well, this stuff is super important. I mean, it's been important. It's defined our whole society, laws, institutions, religion. It goes at the very core of who we are. But actually, when you stop and look, you really can't pinpoint anything. And things are changing, and people are fighting, they're struggling, they're quarreling. But also, I take a lot of inspiration and a lot of enthusiasm, and that people are now taking more control over who they define themselves as. They're not just content to let, others assign them one of two things. They're like, no, I'm a thinking human being. I can be what I want to be. And that's actually how it's always been. We've always just been coming up with how we define ourselves. But now it's a little bit decentralized, and that's making a lot of people very, very nervous. But my hope is that, people recognize that gender, these things are just designated things. And they don't need to be held so tightly. They don't describe our inherent essence. They're not who we ultimately are. And if we can hold this a little bit looser, we can make room for other people to express themselves and to share ideas and to be creative and to just have more tolerance and compassion. Because no matter what gender we have, all of us are subject to sickness, aging, and death. We can't escape that by changing our gender or even our sex. And hopefully, harmony in society can increase as we learn to recognize our commonalities. Despite how many differences we might want to fabricate, there are those strong commonalities, such as the wish to be able to express oneself and to feel like one has dignity and has and is on equal standing as is worthy of love and respect just as much as anybody else. So I think that would be the best thing to come out of all of this gender politics and all this creativity that's happening right now. There are 51 genders available on Facebook, apparently. So it's quite a dynamic time, and I think it's a really great avenue or a great forum to, think about, what does inherent existence mean? What does conventional existence mean? And what does it mean to just be designated by the mind?
I just wonder what you think about why some people care about this issue personally and other people just have the same issues with how society treats them. Because from the time I was young, I've had a lot of things said to me, but I don't think my response was ever to, I just didn't care. Frankly, things happen, and I just thought, the people who said these things to me, sometimes it's just my voice is low, They don't look very closely. Even when I had long hair, they would think I was a guy. Or how I walked, or the clothes I wore, or whatever. It started from, I don't know, probably when I was a teenager. It never ended. And I've just, a lot of times I'll walk, running down the road. It's just like when somebody says some kind of derogatory remark to you when you're jogging and they want to just say something. I would just always I think I've really just always written off people in a certain way, like, this is their problem, not mine. That's what I'm trying to say. This is not my problem that these things have happened to me. There's a problem on their side. So I'm wondering why you think people take this on so much. That's my question. I think I finally got there. Thanks for putting up with me.
What comes to mind is the core need to belong and to be seen and heard and to have a shared reality with other people around you. So I think it influences people to conform, to just go along with what other people are telling them, and not stopping to really think about things very deeply, just accepting what's the convention, what society is doing. But for various karmic reasons, some people, don't want to do that. They want to explore this a little bit more and think about it for themselves. And for whatever reason, it becomes important to them. Maybe they don't have other strong identities that they can really grasp onto. And so they choose gender. This is going to be like how I define myself. Those are just some thoughts.
I think I just want to add a comment. But if we are interested in ordination, we have to be very clear of our gender, because in the ordination ceremony, the preceptor will ask, are you a woman or are you a man or something? So at that point, we have to say, yes, I'm a woman, or yes, I'm a man. And this is...
I wonder if they're asking the sex or the gender. And we were... Yeah, so I think they're asking about the biological parts, not how the person conceives of themselves to be. Okay. Thank you.